那你就下课了吧，老师。
Okay, I think it's time to start. So welcome everybody. Yeah, you're still here. That made me feel that I'm very attractive. Okay. So my laptop is trapped by Windows updating. So yeah, it takes. I guess it will take a few minutes for me to put slides here. And so here, please do me a favor. Go to our course website. There, if you do not see anything new, refresh your browser. Okay, if you refresh the page, you should see there are some materials for today's lecture. Okay, you will see our topic today is called R programming, and then you have slides, data, code. So hopefully you can see all of them, and then you download. And let me know if you cannot find it. Okay, and is there anyone who cannot find the materials? Okay, good. So if you can find the materials, please take a look at the slides. Okay, and then there you should see, for example, page 3. On page 3, I list some basic descriptions about the R programming language. So, have you ever heard about this programming language R? Okay. So, have you ever written any codes in R? No. So, I think you have some experience, right?
Actually, I took a course here in NTU.
But right
it's,
now?
No, last year, early this year, like for 1 or 2 months.
Oh,
Okay.
cool. So,
But I
what?
forgot that all.
Okay. No problem. Yeah, you will recall all your memory very soon. Okay, so my laptop gets to 2%, so we still have 98% to go. Okay, so yeah, we can do something without my laptop, no problem. So today we want to talk about R because of 2 reasons. First is, of course, this thing is powerful, useful, and many people in industry and academia are using that. So this thing is totally free with a lot of useful packages that are growing and growing every day. So either you want to use it in the future or you want to interact with some people using it in the future. Or in either case, it's good to have some taste about it. Okay? We still have 3 lectures, and in these 3 lectures, we will do something with R. So that means you will get some experience. I understand that writing programs is not required in your MBA education. So if you like programming or you like to do something like that, that's good. Just try it, and we do have some exercises for you. But if you don't, that's also fine. We don't require you to do that. So there's no lecture problems, there's no homework, no exam, your final project does not need these programming techniques. Okay, you can use Excel to do everything. But in these 3 lectures, hopefully you may at least feel what you may do with some powerful tools that people do data science use in practice. Okay, so that's reason 1. This thing is useful, and many people are using that. And then the task that these things are doing is important. So it's better to know something about it. Okay, reason 2 is that even if we are just focusing on statistics or data analysis, there are several things that are important, but Excel cannot do it, or it's hard for Excel to do it. Okay, for example, we are doing regression. Excel can do regression nicely, but there is a critical limitation, is that you cannot have too many independent variables. I believe the maximum number of independent variables you may have is 16 in Excel. Okay? And the 16 includes all the independent variables you have. So if you have one discrete variable having 8 values, the other having 10 values, then you're dead. Okay? So maybe sometimes you need some better way to do regression, and R can help you. So hopefully after today's lecture, you will see that becoming a good R programmer may be hard, but using R to do regression is just some technical steps that you need to go through, and eventually that can be actually easier than using Excel. Okay, so you will see that. Next lecture, so after the case study, we have another lecture about regression. There we talk about logistic regression. Somehow that is different from the ordinary regression that we learned in this course. Okay, so with logistic regression, you can solve some other problems that we don't know how to solve yet, but they are still important in practice. So in that case, we will see, oh, Excel cannot do logistic regression. So we really need some tools to help us learn logistic regression. We also want to do some data mining things like association rule mining, or clustering, or classification. Okay? You may not become an expert in that in 2 weeks, but we need to have some exposures to that. So we will use R to do them. So I will use R to do demonstrations. Also, I will run some programs in class to show you what will be the outcome of this and that. You will get all the codes, so that if you want, you may run the codes by yourself, or do some modifications to see the outcome. But if you don't want, it's still fine. You just get the concept, then I think it's good enough. Okay, so we are serious. You really need to write something today. Try your best. So if you look at page 3, there is a link. Okay, on page 3, you see http://www.rprojects.org. Please click on the link and let me know if you cannot see anything.
Wait, where is the link again?
On the page 3 of the slides. Okay, if you get to the link, you should see that on the title it says the R project for statistical computing. Is that right? I'm sorry, this guy is still 2% updating. So ideally I should show the screenshot. But anyway, hopefully we are at the same screen. The R project for statistical computing. Okay, so you know we are really doing statistics. Okay, you move to the left. There are a lot of links. The first one is download CRAN. Okay, so you click on that CRAN thing. Okay, and you see a lot of addresses, and you should see one as Taiwan. On Taiwan, in the section of Taiwan, you see National Taiwan University, Taipei. If you see that, click on that HTTP link. Okay, or you search Taiwan, or you see 3 links from Taiwan, and then there is one National Taiwan University. Okay, if you cannot find it, help each other, please. And if you can find the link, National Taiwan University, now you feel good because you paid a lot, and the National Taiwan University is really special. Okay, and there, if you click on that link, you see on the top, it says the Comprehensive R Archive Network. Okay, and that's the abbreviation CRAN come from. And then you see download R for Linux, download R for Mac, download R for Windows. whatever operating system you are using, click on it. Okay, and then if I click on R for Windows, I see several options: base, contribute, old, blah blah blah. Just click on base or install R for the first time. Okay, and then R 3.4.3 for Windows. Just click on the largest link on the top. And then you should get an executable file downloaded. And if you can do that, stop there for a while. And I'm going to walk around. If you need support, let me know.
I think it's this one. That's the one I downloaded. 4.3. So they said.
I think you have to isolate.
I thought there would be more.
I don't use Macs. I will after PC start, just double click on the link, you should get started.
Like the same time as our strategic management class. Yeah. And then they do strategic management class.
Aircon. Yeah.
น้ำมันต้องเปิดยังไงแล้วเนี่ยต้องเปิดเขาก่อนเปิดดิส
You guys don't know each other's passwords.
I hope.
Okay, and if you can download it, double click, and then it should start the installation. And then you click on OK. Yeah, and then eventually you will get it.
You can go to the slide and you can
You didn't get it? You can download it on. not that one, the one that we have. No, the one that's like one.
我不知道可以不要这个。
I think I am your shop, you know your shop, right? You know this one? That's fun. That's fun.
Like a media.
She's okay.
So did you get a file? Okay, download it. Yeah. And if you can get a file, double click and try to install in. Okay. Yeah. If you finish installing that, I mean, if you feel that you finish installing that, raise your hand to let me know. Okay. So suppose you feel that you're done. Take a look at your slides. In page 4, you should see an initial screen if you open the app or open the file. Okay, and if you can see that something similar to the screen on page 4, raise your hand to let me know. Okay, good. Okay, in any case, suppose you can get the screen, or the friend sitting around you can get a screen. That's good enough. So if you can get a screen, raise your hand. Okay, good. Okay. So now it's time to try it. I'm sorry that I cannot try it for you, but please try to take a look at page 5. On page 5, there are some things that you may try with your R program. So let me explain them for a while. You see that there are some characters that are typed with the typewriter font family. Okay, for example, greater than 1 plus 2, and then square 1, and then 3, and so on and so on and so on. If you see that greater than symbol, that means there are some place for you to type in an instruction to the R program. For example, 1 plus 2 means I want R to calculate 1 plus 2 for me. And then it tells me that the answer is 3. So I then ask R to do 6 times 9. Now that star means times. Okay? And then I get 54, and so on and so on and so on. So when you see a square parentheses and the 1 there, that means you are getting the result. Okay? So try it for a while to see whether you can use R to do some basic arithmetics. And if you can do that, help your friends. or if you cannot, ask your friends.
Oh, okay. I heard it somewhere. What does it actually mean? I'm not.
Okay, and seems to be good. So, okay, this guy 11%. So let's do some statistics. Okay, so if you take a look at page 6. Page 6 is again telling you that we want to do something with that wholesale data set. So that wholesale data set, if you still remember, we have 2 channels, 3 regions, 6 kinds of products, fresh food, delicate, whatever. Okay, so there you can see that the data you're already familiar with look like the table on page 7. On page 7, you see there are channel, there are label, and the fresh, milk, grocery, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so hopefully you still have some memory about that. So if you just downloaded the data file for today, please open it. That's an Excel file. So you should see the very familiar Excel interface with 440 rows and 8 columns. And if you can get it, raise your hand.
Go back to the website, his website.
Just double click that Excel file to open it.
The code or the data.
My dad
I don't use suppose.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're using High Sierra or you're using Sierra? Did you download the newest?
I don't think I downloaded the newest.
This is messing
Stop messing around.
Yep, got my mind on sale.
okay. This is not very satisfactory, but let's assume it's fine. So now I'm going to the next step. You remember that you were at the R environment, and there you may type in some instructions to get some instructions get executed. Okay? So now our next step is that I'm going to load some data into the R environment and then do some statistics on it. So our next step is to load that data set into the R environment. Okay? So that takes a few steps. So let me try to show you. So the first thing is that what we obtain as the data file is the Excel file. Okay? The Excel file has a lot of information that are not needed and cannot be processed by the R environment because there are several formulas or color codes, whatever. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy and paste the data file to the text file called wholesale.txt. So this is basically saying that I want to have a plain text file and containing those numbers. So I'm going to do it now. And if you don't know what does that mean, please take a look. So here I have my files. Okay, so this is the data file, or a table in Excel. What I want is that I'm going to point at somewhere to see I want to create a new text file. Okay, I'm sorry, this is in Chinese and very small. But anyway, new text file. Okay, new text file. And if on Windows I try to new a text file, I'm going to rename it as some name that I can recognize later. Wholesale, test, whatever. Okay? You either see the association file name, txt, or you don't. But anyway, that's fine. As long as you click on the file and then you see Notepad or something similar to edit that plain text file, then you are good. Okay? And then it's the next step. I'm going to select the whole data set. Okay? The whole table in Excel. And then copy everything. And then paste everything onto the Notepad. Okay? I can see everything look like a table, even though they are actually plain text. Okay? After I do that, I just save the file and then close it. And then I'm done with this step. Okay, so please help each other to create a plain text file containing all the data in the Excel file.
So how do you do it?
I don't know, I'm still not It's just downloading the installer.
Yeah, here, right? Maybe? No, do it
It's still hard to give up.
If you just name your plain text file, or try to make it short, because later you're going to type the names into R. Okay? So make it a short name with no space, no weird characters, no exclamation marks, etc.
But I called it double. I like your last name group. Pretty. It's a really cool name.
And if you cannot get it, please raise your hand. Yeah.
just save and paste it in Notepad.
How do you do it on Mac? You don't, right? How do you do TXT on Mac?
Did right
You
here,
have to
man.
open Excel and like save as TXT.
Oh, okay.
Did right here, man.
Yeah, but it says it has got multiple tabs. So you choose some tab.
Don't use
I
Mac.
can't do that, but it says that it is an active sheet and
Okay, so now is the next step. Okay? The next step may be the most technical part in today's lecture. So pay attention. And if you can get it, you will be fine for the rest of the lecture. Okay, so if you take a look at the slide. When I do the copy and paste and then make my data into my text file, okay? This is a screenshot of my text file that we just observed. Okay, so I have several columns and several rows. So later, when I load the data into our environment, I'm going to get something called a data frame in R. That's basically a table with rows and columns. Okay, so later you will see it. But anyway, you need to make sure that you do not modify anything after the paste. Okay? Sometimes you're going to see that your data are not aligned perfectly. Don't worry too much. That's simply because with a plain text editor, there are some default settings. And then the setting is not designed to make your data file look nicely inside that editor. But as long as we load it into our environment, or we did that in Excel, we see they are arranged nicely. Okay? So as long as you copy and paste from Excel directly, then this is fine. Don't worry too much about the look, because we don't need it. Okay, and then I'm going to read data from the text file. So let's see how to do this. I'm going to, so there are several ways. I'm talking about the way that I think is the easiest. I'm going to put the text file to my work directory. Okay? And that means I need to first know where is my work directory. So we are all using different laptops, and we have different operating systems, different versions, different settings. So everybody may have a different work directory. So I don't know where is your work directory, but I know how to find it. I'm going to go back to the R environment to type get wd parentheses. That's going to give me a string telling me where the work directory is. Okay, I'm sorry again, this is the Chinese version. I had my English version on this old laptop, but this is updating 24%. Okay, so I type get wd, and I should get a string, which basically tells me where my work directory is. Okay, so when I do that, I typically do two things. First, if I know where this thing is, I'm going to just put my file there. Okay? And the way to do it, at least on Windows, is the following. So I'm going to select this string and copy that. Okay? Copy that. And once I do that, I open my file manager. Okay? And go to the location bar, and then paste that string. I'm going to get to that directory. Okay? I don't know where it is, and I don't typically put things there. But later I'm going to put my wholesale.txt file there so that I can directly access that particular path. Okay, so I'm almost done. I'm going to cut that file and put that into this work directory. Okay? I'm going to make my wholesale.txt into my work directory. Okay? And let me complete the last step so that later you may test. I'm going to execute this statement. I'm going to read table and use this function to read some data outside the R environment. I'm going to tell R where the file is, work directory, and what's the file name. Okay? And I also tell R that I have a row that contains all the headers. Okay? So there are some headers. Okay, and if I can really do that, I'm going to get something from the file. Please store those things into a variable called W. Okay? I'm going to talk about some details later, but now all I want to do is to try this statement. Okay, so I'm going to type something. Okay? If you type that thing and nothing show up, then that means you are good. If you see any error message, that means you need to ask your friend to help. Okay. W will be some variable that means a table. And later we will extract some rows, columns, whatever from that. Anyway, try to get your work directory, put your file there, and try to load in your data.
Now, where are you?
Yeah, ask both of them.
That's nothing to do with the class, is it? You're supposed to remove everything?
I want to throw them away.
Oh.
That's all.
That's a lot of stuff, man. I was like, dude, I don't think the teacher told us to throw everything away.
Well, I put them in the trash can for now.
So they don't get confused. I'm trying to make my window.
So that means it's fine. That means it's good. Nothing should happen. Yeah. Because I get an error the first few times. What is this? How to find it?
See, I know how to
I get that.
put this.
Do you know where the words are? Get to see the video. So what is it?
Because these are
No, I got this.
Yeah.
I got that.
So this is basically home. So you can go here. Where's your file?
Okay, good. So that means
Control command C.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And open any folder.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
okay. So up to here, we already did some statements. Okay, and later, if you enjoy typing, you may just type all the statements that I ask you to do. Or if you want to make sure that you are not typing anything wrong, I guess you just downloaded a file which is called code on the website. Okay, so if you double click on it, you should also get a plain text editor showing several codes. And some look familiar to you.
What is your file name?
Okay,
Exact file name.
at least you just see some get, WD, and W, read data, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means later, we still do them step by step, but you may copy and paste
Yes.
to do something in art to make your life easier. Oh, so that means you now know all the things that I'm going to do. So if at some time you feel bored, you may advance to try something that I talk about it later. Okay, so go back to the slides.
What are you gonna call it?
So here, let me say something more about this. Basically, when we write a program, we always play with variables. So variables are those things that we do when we are junior high school or something. X plus 2y is 3, whatever. So those are variables. But in R, because we are typically doing statistics, so a variable may mean a vector, or a matrix, or a table, or something more complicated. Okay? So here, W is a variable, and it has a type. That type is a data frame. Okay? A data frame, basically you can consider it as a table. So there are several rows, several columns that I will show you later. And here there is a statement which looks like an arrow to the left. Okay? This thing means assignment. Whenever you do an assignment statement, that means you're going to complete whatever at the right-hand side. For example, here, you're going to read table to get something. Sometimes it's a result of some calculation or whatever. You get something at the right-hand side, and then assign those things to the left-hand side. So this means you do some executions, and then assign the result to W. So now let's take a look at what we have in W. If we have a variable, then in any case, we can just type its name. Then R will show you what is contained there. Or later, if you try it, you see a lot of data because you have 440 rows. So maybe you want to try two functions called head and tail. If you put W into this function head, you will only get the first 6 rows. Or in tail, you get the last 6 rows. Okay? So let me try it. So I'm here. I have W. And then if I do that, I get all the data I just loaded. Okay? And here, we can see that I have some row numbers. Row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, whatever. And I have column names, channel, region, fresh, milk, whatever. So everything looks good. So if you also follow our steps, you type you type W, you should see exactly the same thing. Okay? Or if you try head, okay, you get the first 6 rows, or you type tail, you get the last 6 rows. That's for you to get some feeling about your data set. Okay? So very quickly, you will see that why engineers, scientists, they prefer to write programs instead of using Excel. Because if you want to take a look at the last 6 rows in your Excel, typically you scroll down, up and down, and that takes a lot of time. But if you just type, that's easy. Anyway, so that's something. And now, this is more important. We sometimes need to play with some numbers in a data frame. So we need to be able to get a column or a row. So this is critical. Basically, if I have a table, I can indicate which number I'm looking at by specifying the row number and the column number. So W with these square brackets, I'm going to assign 1 and 2 as my row number and the column numbers, saying that I want to get the number in the first row in the second column. Okay? Or if I want to get all the numbers in the first row, then I just ignore the second argument. Or if I want to get all the numbers in the first column, I just ignore the first argument. Or because columns have column names, so sometimes it's easier to memorize column names instead of memorize the orders. So I may type this $sign and then append column names there. Okay, so let me try it. So I have W, and for example, I want to try 443. Okay, I get 14,000 and something. This is indeed what contained in the last row in the third column. And then if I ignore the second argument, I'm going to get a row, right? So this is a row with 8 columns. With 8 columns. So you can also consider that as 8 numbers. Or here, I want to just get all the numbers in the third column, all the fresh cells. So I get a lot of numbers. And here, you can see what's the meaning of that 1, 10, 19, whatever. This is saying that this execution gives you a lot of numbers. And the first number is this guy, the 10th number is this guy, the 19th number is this guy, and so on and so on. Okay? So all the things there you get are numbers or outputs of that particular statement. Is that okay? Oh, and stop me if you need any help. Okay, so the last thing I want to try is the $sign. So I have, for example, fresh. Okay, I basically get all the things the same. It does not matter whether you use color numbers or color names to get a column. Is that okay? So of course I can first get a column and then say in this column I want to get the first number, for example. Something like that. I first get a column and then get a number. That's fine. So if you have something with rows and columns, you have a table. If you get just one column, that's a vector. A vector of 440 values. So inside a vector, you can get a value by using that square bracket with one argument. Is that okay? Okay, good. Okay, 45%. Okay, so we are getting closer to do something useful. So now I want to get multiple rows or multiple columns in one statement. So what should I do? I'm going to use this column operator, which means from 1 to 6. Okay? So when I do the first statement, this is saying that give me the first row to the sixth row and all the columns. Or for the second one, give me all the rows for the first column to the third column. Or for this, give me all the rows with the first column to the third column, and then I only want the first 6 rows. Okay? So in the last statement here, I am combining 2 statements. I first do 3 columns with all the rows, and then I get only the first 6 rows. Okay? So try it for a while. Try it for a while, and get some other things.
That means you know where the location is. You have something else to try. I'm going
Its usage of computers is completely
how do I open the menu bar for this? And another thing that we need to try is some type of fit. Inside the set I can try to input the path. Okay? For example, if I know the path length of these directions, and all I need to do is to enter that into the string. And then I should be able to get the file. Okay? So I guess this is
Yeah.
right.
Huh?
Okay. Yeah. So
I'll
it's
let
here.
you know.
So there are some people.
Okay, good. I now know how to fix Mac. Okay. So, is there anyone getting some troubles about this? Very good. Okay. So now there's another thing. There is an important function called C. C means concatenation. So that means we're going to concatenate several things into one thing. And typically that concatenation is for us to concatenate vectors. Okay? So let's take a look. Here, I have 1, and then 4 to 6. 4 to 6 means 4, 5, 6. So I concatenate these 2 vectors into one vector. That means 1, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that means if I try to execute that, okay, if I do that, I'm going to get all the columns and the first, 4th, 5th, and 6th rows like this. Okay, 1, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to get these 4 rows because I say I want these 4 rows. Is that okay? So that means whatever numbers you put as the first argument, this function is going to get those rows. 1 means the first row. Okay, so let me try several other things. Yeah. For example, here I may type 1, 4, 5, 6. Okay? Yeah, this is concatenating 4 numbers into one vector. So the result is the same. Okay? Or I can say, no, I want the 56. Okay? And then I'm going to get the 56th row. Or I can say I want from the 1st to the 4th, and then from the 8th to the 10th, and then from the 81 to 88. Okay? Yeah, I just get all the things I want. So basically, this is telling us 2 things. The function C is very simple. This function simply concatenates several vectors or several scalar numbers into one vector. So let me try it. I actually can execute this C function by itself. Okay? I'm going to see that, oh, indeed, the outcomes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 81, 82, da, 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 da. So that means all I need to do in getting rows is to tell the function W about what are the rows that I want to extract from this data frame. And then I get all the things I want. Is that okay? Yeah. This is important because later we're going to do some filtering. We're going to get the rows where channel is 1. We're going to get the rows where fresh milk sales is greater than 100. Something like that. We're going to do some filtering. Okay, so this is again doing some combinations or combos. So I first do function C to get 2, 5, 6. So I get only these 3 columns. And then I get all the rows, but I just want the first 6. So that's why by doing this, I get 6 rows and 3 columns. Try it to see if you can see it. So in general, this C function does all kinds of concatenations. And I to J gives us a sequence from I plus 1, I plus 2, I plus 3, up to J. Is that okay? Okay. So these 2 things, let's try it. Okay, as I mentioned, if you don't want to type, then you may copy and paste. That's fine. Okay, so I'm going to try this statement. I'm going to get 1 column, and then another column. I'm going to put 2 columns into a function called data frame. So that means, hey computer, please create a data frame for me. And for this data frame, please have 2 columns. Each are from here and there. And then give me the first 6 rows. Okay? So that's why I get this. Because for channel and the region, they are 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's why here I can get all the numbers like 1 in the first column and the second column. Okay, so what's the next? The next is basically the same, but while